Hello and welcome back to another episode of Raw and Real with Stefanie Fernandez. I'm Stefanie, your podcast host, founder of Your Freedom Program, and I work with women who want to take back their life, returning to themselves on their healing journey. In this podcast, we give the stage to women who overcame trauma, adversity, or difficult phases in their life. Be ready to get raw emotions from real people. The stories we share here are to inspire women just like you that anything is possible. In today's episode, we will be talking about hearing loss. And my guest today is Kellina Powell. Kellina became deaf at the age of 4. And now she loves to help people with their personal growth, and she advocates for the deaf community. Hi, Kellina, and thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here and shed light on this very important topic. You recently graduated with a psychology degree, and you're starting your own online coaching business, which is like super amazing, while you're also working on your book. I mean, I'm so looking forward to hear your story and how you motivate yourself. These are all amazing accomplishments you have already. So please tell us your story today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. Coming out from university, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, should I, and I never really had that mindset to work for somebody else. I always wanted to have my own business. And I said, well, why not become a coach? Because I know become a psychologist, there's more schooling, and I didn't want to go through school because I was so tired of school. Like I've been in school for like 8 years, and I was like, no, I need to stop. And so sorry about that. So yeah, so my story, it all started when I became deaf at the age of 4. For those who are asking, how did I become deaf? I became deaf due to an infection. However, my daycare did not follow instruction from my doctor. So I was prescribed with the ear drop. And that same day, my mom gave it to them, said, this is what you need to do. And they didn't follow instruction. That same day, I went home, I became deaf. I was in front of the TV, and I didn't realize it was loud until my mom tapped me on my shoulder, and she's like, Kellina, I've been calling you. And I said, I did jump because I didn't think, right? I didn't know what's happening. And I'm like, I looked at my mom, like literally dead in the face, and said, huh? And my mom said, and she thought I was joking around because I was 4 years old, right? And she was just like, okay, no, something's wrong, something's not right. And I told my mom, I can't hear. And she, I don't know what she did. She was freaking out. She called my grandmother. Luckily, my grandmother was a nurse at the time. She rushed home from the hospital to do some assessments with me and trying to figure out what was going on. So my grandma looked at my mom and said, Kellina is deaf. Like, she can't hear me. And we ended up going to my family doctor the next day to find out what's going on. And my family doctor broke the news to my family and said, it's too late. Kellina is deaf. Yeah. And ever since I was growing up, going to school, I was bullied a lot of time. I didn't know how to advocate for myself. I didn't have anyone that looked like me in the classroom because it was just crazy. And fast forward now, going into university, I actually met a professor who was actually deaf too, and it was amazing how I was able to connect with him, and he gave me a lot more confidence of like getting myself out there. And you never know who's watching you, you never know who needs your voice, and it's really inspiring to talk to him, and that's why I became to do this. However, there was actually a really unique story. I was actually working at a big park in Canada. It's called Canada's Wonderland. And a little boy approached me. My hair was in a ponytail, so you could see my hearing aid. And he approached me, and he's like, "Oh my God, I wear hearing aid too!" And we were talking. It was so cute. And his mom came to me and full of joy, and she's like, "You're the first deaf person that my son's seen in the hearing community." And I said, "Oh, really?" And she said, "Yeah, it's very rare to see someone that is deaf interaction with the hearing community. Like I always encourage my son that nothing's wrong with him. He can do it." And now that the son saw me, he had more confidence. And that's when I started to take the journey and said, this is the second person telling me I can do that. So I said, why not take the road trip of being an entrepreneur, educating people, become a coach, and be international speaker across the globe to tell people that they can do what they can do. Doesn't matter what they have. So that is my story.
That's beautiful. And I love how you grow from that instead of hiding yourself in a hermit crab shell where, you cannot really do anything. But now you are not only super confident, at least that's what I get from your story, but you help others too. And tell me, what was the hardest growing up for you that you remember?
I would say the hardest of growing up with my mental health, I would say. Um, because my life switched at 4 years old. I don't even know what to expect. And the hardest thing I would say is learning to accept my disability and accepting that I need help. I think that definitely something that I'm still working on to this day, to accept that it's okay to ask for help. That was something I struggled a lot when I was growing up.
Why would you say is that?
I would say I don't know. I think it's because I have so much to. I think I don't know. It's just not just me, but a lot of disability communities does the same thing to what I'm saying to you. I don't know how to explain it, but you just don't want to put too much on someone else's plate to help you, and you're like, it's just too much for somebody else to kind of accommodate you, and you just don't feel comfortable a lot of time, right? Some people don't feel comfortable talking. I used to put my hair down all the time, never show my hearing aid, so that's the reason why. Yeah.
But I love how you see this very differentiated, like you would like to protect others from the burden of your own disability, but at the same time also only when we ask for help can we shine our light and be truly who we are, because we open ourselves up. And tell me a bit more about that process of when you realized, when you came from the difficulty to the opportunity.
It made me realize when I actually went to school, university, and I had a disability counselor. I was struggling. First year university, you don't know what you're doing. And I'm like freaking out, like, what is happening? And that 4 years of university, that's when my life changed. That's when I actually realized that the real world is not a joke. So I was like, whoa. And it's not, I was not prepared in high school. No one was prepared in high school. So, and that's when I realized, and also true because I did a lot of volunteer, and I was able to wake me up and say, like seeing all these different things that happen in the world, and for me to kind of get myself out there and like actually think about it to myself and be like, what, how can I make a difference? Especially after that little boy came to me, and right there, that's when I was like, wow, like this is how the world is going to be. And so I just literally flip it around and turn it to opportunity. I think of different ways how I can get myself out there. Being an international speaker or doing podcasts. I never really thought I would be doing this, to be honest, because I had no confidence in myself. I never thought I would come this far with a lot of people, especially connection. That's just crazy. But, sometimes I just want people to know that it's very important to find out what you're good at and try not to focus so much on what you're not good at.
I know, but it's so difficult when we compare ourselves to others. We mostly see what we cannot do as well as that person, or we cannot do that exactly the way they do it. And it's like, it resonates with me so much. When I just quit my job recently, my 9-to-5 job, to be a full-time therapist and coach. And I realized it's a process, like what you also say, you realize all of a sudden, like, this is no joke. Like, I really need to get cracking. And I thought, what is it that I'm good at? And what I'm good at has been always a weakness. So I thought. And when I realized it's not a weakness, it's like my biggest strength, like to connect with people, to help people. It's not that it's how you redefine success and happiness for yourself. And that looks different to everyone. Once you realize what you can do instead of maybe what you can't. I mean, we all have maybe not official disabilities like what you have, but we all have limitations because we're also different. Someone might not be good at math, the other one is very good at sports. And it's like how we grow up conditions us a lot, isn't it? Like focusing on what we can't do. I mean, how was that for you when you were like younger in the school environment? And please tell me a little bit about how you experienced that with your peers.
It was very difficult. Like because I was split into two schools. So I went to a deaf school in the morning, and the afternoon I would go to the hand school. And so going to the deaf school was very relaxing, more accommodating. I was able to learn about myself a lot more and how can I advocate for myself in the classroom, because that's really important. I remember my teacher always said, when you go to the school, you need to say this and this. And I'm thinking in my head, why? Like, they should know that. They're a teacher. But then when I went to the hand school and I realized, what? You teachers don't know how to accommodate someone with a disability, and it was unfortunate. And I was like, oh my God, what? And I did not like the hand school at all. And I like actually asked my mom if I can go to the school full time, and my mom said no. I need you to be independent on your own when you get older, because it's very important for you to learn how to interact with the hand community. Just because the deaf community is very small, and unfortunately, going into grade 2 or 3ish, my mom said, "You are not going to the deaf school anymore. You're going to go straight to the hand school, because to tribute to the deaf school was like 30 minutes from my house, which was way too far. And my mom was a young mom. She was in college, so it was too much for her and my family too. And the hand school was like 5 minutes walk. So my mom didn't want to just put Kellina there. And so I went to the hand school. The vibe was horrible. When I got there, I was bullied quick. I was like, I just got here and you're bullying me because I am deaf. And because I had a speech problem as well when I was growing up. And so my speech was not very so good when I was younger, but I was still working on it because I had a speech therapist. And it was very unfortunate. People would make fun of me the way I talk, and it was just crazy. And like the point where a boy pushed me down the hill and I got bruises everywhere. It was just crazy. But luckily I did meet two of my best friends till this day. They defended me, always bullied the bully back. They always tell me to do it back. I'm like, no, I don't want to get in trouble. They're like, who cares? They bully you. That's not fair. And it was just, don't fight me. And I'm like, okay. I'm going to bully them back, okay? And then it was funny, but then it actually worked. And then I was like, oh my God, it actually worked. They stopped bullying me. But unfortunately, they did not stop. So going to grade 5, they kind of stopped, but they did a little bit, not so much. But it got better over time, I would say. So that props to my best friend who really helped me build my confidence even more, is that, Kellina, you can do it. Who cares? Blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay. Like, it was just, I would say it was a very interesting journey in school environment, because a lot of people didn't think I could speak up for myself, especially going into middle school and high school. That's when I was a lot more confident. Like, hey, don't talk to me like that. That's because I'm deaf. So, yeah.
Yeah. I have 2 boys. They are 5 and 3, and I'm raising them with the understanding that we are all different. And your disability is not very visible unless you can see your hearing aids. But there are a lot of disabilities that you can see. And the other day we were in a supermarket, and in front of us was a young boy, and he was in a wheelchair, and he was maybe my son's age, and my son could really relate to him. And he was just staring at him. He was just standing there and looking at him. He wouldn't say anything, but he could not look away. And the first thing that, like, my first prompt was to say, don't stare, don't look like this. I didn't say it, but that was like the first thing I thought. I feel so uncomfortable because that he stares like this. It's not polite. But when we actually say to kids, don't stare, we tell them to look away and ignore, which is very difficult for minorities to live in an environment where you feel completely secluded and ignored. Everyone's looking away. People are not looking at you. And often this is not intentionally bad, but it feels bad. Like what that boy did, running to you, talking to you about your disability, was nice because it connected you with him. So I wish that many more parents would encourage their children to connect and ask questions. And what would you advise or recommend for the hearing community when they encounter someone with a disability, with a hearing loss or whatever else? What do you recommend them? Because many people don't know even what to say or what to do.
That's a really good question. I always get the question all the time. I always tell people, for example, if you don't know what they have and you realize something's a little off, just ask. Just really, hey, may I help you with something? And and that's a perfect way to approach some people. And secondly, I always encourage a lot of the hearing community, well, non-disabled community, to volunteer. Take the time, even on weekend, go volunteer at a disability community to help you be more educated, get more knowledge, how you can help better, how you can be a better ally. That would definitely be helpful. And try to be not to be mindful of sharing, because I get that a lot. Like a lot of people always stare my ears, and I'm like, you can ask the question, So I said, don't be afraid. It's really important how you word your sentence. That will be the number one thing I would highly recommend people to be aware of. It's really how you word your sentence. Like, may I help you? That's a perfect way of approaching someone. Let's say someone is trying to get in the door and they're on the wheelchair. Do not grab the wheelchair. Just go to their face and be like, hey, may I help you? If they say yes, no, and that's it. So that's definitely a good way to help.
Yeah, and it's really to do something and not just looking away or making up your own judgment without actually engaging with that person, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you had the chance to talk to the younger Kellina with everything you know today, with a wiser self that you are today, what would you tell that little girl?
I would tell myself that it's okay not to be okay. Some days it'll be bad days, and some days it'll be good days. But take a deep breath, everything will be okay.
I'd love that. Is that we can all need that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because happiness and sadness can exist at the same time. That's okay. Yeah. So what's next for you? What are you going to do?
Well, I have a lot on my plate, as you can see. So my goal, okay, what is next? So my book is going to be coming out in a month. It's called Every Day I Am Just Deaf. So it's about me being deaf in the hearing community. And it's going to be mixed with poetry and biography, which is kind of unique and really cool. And I love poetry. And I'm going to continue being international speaker for big events, disability events, schools. I do have 2 speaking events for schools, which I'm super excited about. And I do have, crossing my finger, I did have some collaboration for a medical school, a big medical school. And so my goal is to trying to get it out there. And so that is next for me. But I'm still in a way progress of trying to see what else is next, because there's too much going on right now, and I'm trying to get everything going on. But it's so hard to think about the next step because you have so much on your plate at this moment.
I know, but it sounds super exciting. And if anyone out there can resonate, with your story or with things you do, how can they connect with you?
Everybody can find me on my Instagram because I'm super active on Instagram, which is Steph Queen Bar. I know some people do not have social media. So you guys can find me on my website. I actually finally got my website done. It's KellinaEmpowerment.com.
Perfect. I will put the links in the description of this podcast so people can easily find you and reach out. Thank you so much for sharing your story. But most of all, I love your energy and your positivity. So nice to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And guys, if you would like to connect with Kellina, please go over to her Instagram and check out her website. I will also put an update, the link for your book, Kellina, once it's out, so you guys can go and purchase it. I love poetry as well, so I will definitely have a look at that. Yay! Thank you so much for being a guest today, Kellina.
My pleasure, anytime.
Guys, if you like this podcast, please give me a like and a review and share it with anyone you think can benefit from listening to Kellina's story. We all come across someone that is disabled in one way or the other, cannot hear, cannot see well, cannot walk. Sometimes it's not for a long period of time, but we are all impaired one way or the other, across our lifespan. So I love to know that you guys share this, to help the community, to help others to know what they can do. Kellina had a really good message for what you can do when you encounter someone that might need help and how you do that. Follow me for more inspiring stories to come on Raw and Real with Stefanie Fernandez. Bye now.